Hey, what is up, Plus Ultra fam? It is me, Plus Ultra Man, here for podcast number 23. This one will be a bit different than usual. We won't be doing a what if on this one. We're actually going to be doing pretty much a series review of Naruto. These are just my general thoughts, opinions, ideas of the series. And to do that, I've kind of structured this a different way than I thought I was going to. So first what I'm going to do is tell you my history with the series, then go into my favorite arcs, or give a review of every arc, basically. Move into what my favorite arcs are, go to my favorite characters, and probably end it off there. And while you're watching, make sure you listen to the background, because I'll probably have some of my favorite music from the series, or the openings, endings, what have you, playing throughout that. So, pay attention and kind of see what my favorite music from the series is. Keep in mind, this is all regarding that I can get it through copyright, but yeah. And we have about 12 pages of notes to go through, so we got to kind of move through these pretty quickly. These aren't typed out or written out in a way that I'll be able to keep this up to, 100%, verbatim what the words on the paper say, but these will just keep my thoughts kind of centered and logical and not going all over the place, so I'm not rambling too much. So, my history with Naruto. I was introduced to Naruto in 2005, around the September of that year when the series started premiering on Cartoon Network. In fact, I really remember a lot of the Cartoon Network ads. I used to come off the series at that time. I remember the custom Cartoon Network opening. They didn't use Rocks by Hound Dog at first. They used, I'm pretty sure it was like a brand new theme. It was like, yeah, you guys know it. If I can find it, I'm definitely playing it around right now. But yeah, that was how I grew up with Naruto, and I didn't know it was a series I was going to get mature as it did. I feel like Cartoon Network didn't know, as soon as they did it, because I remember that series got moved from like being shown at 4 p.m. on Cartoon Network to being shown on Toonami, which is really, really funny. And that also got me into watching more of Toonami. I'd already been watching Dragon Ball and stuff like that, and when things of Toonami came on, but that's how I first started watching Naruto. And I remember I used to watch it over my older cousin's house, and he would kind of choose like which characters were his to play when you go outside and you did stuff outside. And he was always the main character, so he was always Naruto. And he'd be like, hey, you can be Sasuke though. And they'd be like, Sasuke seems better, because it was early Naruto, and Naruto didn't get to do too many things that were like really, really cool and Naruto centric yet. This is also why I'm so heavily in love with part one. It's this part of the series that I just have the deepest connection with. Nostalgia does impact that a lot, but revisiting it as an adult, revisiting it as somebody who has had more time to let that stuff marinate and see other stuff and other shonen and other anime or other manga, what have you, things from Japan that would, draw from similar themes, ideas, customs, what have you. It's really, really cool to see these things still hold up really, really well. So after that, in playing maybe like a few of the Clash of Ninja games, that was pretty much it for Naruto. I'd gotten to where Jiraiya leaves the village with Cartoon Network, and then they showed, or Toonami, and then they start showing the filler, and I watched the filler, I'm sure, but because it was filler, I don't really remember any of it now as an adult who doesn't watch it anymore. And I didn't know at that time it wasn't canon. From there, quick little fact about me, I was homeschooled for a little while, then I went to a public school, and in the school of one of my middle schools, we actually had, or the library of one of my middle schools, we had a few volumes of the Naruto manga. I think it was, God, I don't remember. I'm pretty sure they had at least the Chunin exams for one of the volumes, and then the Leaf Crush arc for one of the volumes, and then the Search for Tsunade arc, and that was it. So I didn't really get to see much of part 2. Then I had internet at some point, so I was able to look up Naruto and see that, oh yeah, Shippuden it exists. This is real. That was coming out in like 2007 for the anime and stuff, and I forget exactly when the time skip happened and the manga started to print the Shippuden era stuff exactly, but it happened. And I just didn't really watch it because I wasn't really interested in subtitles. I just couldn't really deal with them. I was younger. It was something that really impeded my progress with the series. So I just waited. And a network that I really didn't expect to pick up the series, or at least it seems weird that it would now, but it picked it up. It was Disney XD. Disney XD picks up Naruto Shippuden and runs it till about midway through the Kazekage rescue arc, because Gaara dies, and they're like, there's no way to kind of cut around Gaara dying. It had already shown some blood, some guts. Not really. It had shown Kankuro's like healing and stuff, and that was kind of a big thing for Disney to be showing. So I felt like it was really, really out of Disney's corner, because I don't remember them going much farther than the Kazekage rescue arc. I think Sai got introduced in Shippuden on Disney XD, but after that, they stopped showing it. So that was in like 2007, and then for a few good years, I just didn't know what was happening with Naruto because I didn't watch the anime. I wasn't really dealing with subtitles, and I just didn't have the money for manga. I would work with my dad from time to time, but my family was not rich by any means, and the money I did earn from doing that sometimes went to video games if I had time to buy those, or just pocket change to have just for a rainy day if I wanted something. I'd always been a bigger Dragon Ball fan, and getting the full story of Dragon Ball wasn't hard. Even when Dragon Ball wasn't really showing as much because it wasn't on Cartoon Network, they had Kai come on pretty soon when I was a kid, and that started showing on Nickelodeon, and at some point started turning on 4Kids TV. So, I mean, there was ways to see Dragon Ball. Even then, the Dragon Ball games usually went through all of the first part of Dragon Ball. That kind of led me into playing the Naruto games, like Clash of Ninja I played, and then move into playing Ultimate Ninja Storm 1. Then Ultimate Ninja Storm 2 comes out around 2010. That would have been one of my first real experiences with Part 2 in full. And then I move on to Ultimate Ninja Storm 3, and then finally 4 in 2016. That's pretty much how I finished the second half of Naruto, or at least the second half of Shippuden. At some point, I had probably gotten caught up to the Jiraiya's death arc. I'm sure I did. By watching it on TV, but at that point I kind of just dropped it because I was like, all right, the anime moves kind of slow, and I know what happens here, and I wasn't reading the manga again. So for like all of 2016 to I think around 2019 or late 2019, when I finally said, okay, my understanding of the series is way too loose for me to be making content on it, so let me sit down and read from chapter 1 to chapter 700 of the manga non-stop without reading anything else, and just get it done and see what it is I've missed, because I felt the story was really convoluted. The games by no means cover everything as well as it should. I did know that everything in Storm 3 wasn't canon at some point, just because Storm 4 picks up in a way that totally doesn't work if Storm 3 is canon. So, yada yada blah blah. I finally have finished the series, and now I want to give my thoughts, opinions, and ideas on it with a full understanding, a full read through, and everything on my mind. One more thing about my read-through. In late 2019, I started, and in early 2020, I had finished with chapter 700. Then around chapter 42 of Boruto, I'm now completely caught up with the series. And that came out around January 20th, and I finished it on January 21st, I know, because I posted on Twitter about it. And a lot of people have said, like, what are your thoughts about it? So, hence this video. So, that's my full kind of history with Naruto. TLDR, or TLDW, I guess, in this sense. Watched it on Cartoon Network, watched it on Disney XD, kind of didn't follow it because I didn't like sub, ended up playing the games. I had a vague understanding of the series through the games, and that had been pretty much it for a good long while. Also, shout out to the Viz Manga Reader app. I just have to say that because without that, this really wouldn't have been possible. It really made my read through very, very easy, very, very simple. I could not be happier with the investment of Viz. I think it is a really, really good tool for just entertainment if you want to read manga and experience these stories in their purest form, in the form the author meant the most for it to come out as. So if you haven't, check it out. But I'll get back on that spill later in the podcast. So with that said, it is time to move into my review of every arc of Naruto. You've probably read or seen or watched or played Naruto at this point, so there's a bunch of arcs, and like I said, 12 pages, so I'm going to try and move through these pretty well, but I also want to kind of spend a good amount of time on it. That way, if anybody's ever like, well, what do you think of this arc? PlusUltraPodcast, I can point it back to this video and say, oh yeah, go to this, timestamp in it. You can hear my thoughts on that arc and yada 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 and that character. It just make it really simple. So starting off with the Land of Waves arc, and when I say the Land of Waves arc, I count from what happens in chapter 1 to what happens when Naruto, Sasuke, Kakashi, and Sakura are leaving the Land of Waves. This is arguably the best first arc in any shonen, period. Just in my opinion, I think it does a really, really, really good job of all the setup. We instantly, just off jump, we know who our characters are. They're clearly defined. They're given goals, which are, pretty ham-fisted in how, straightforward they are, how they tell you. Like, oh yeah, this character is, this way, and this personality, and they want to accomplish this in life. And it's like, all right, yeah, sure. We know that now. There's also something else that the Land of Waves does that I think is really, really important for shonen in terms of the issue of shonen power creep that a lot of series kind of deal with. And that is our characters are shown a height of power And through them, we are also shown a height of power that at some point we know, oh wow, they can reach that as well. This is, something they have to work for, strive towards, because we see Kakashi and Zabuza have this full-scale all-out battle that seems really, really impressive, especially at the time when it's coming out, when we haven't seen Orochimaru in the Chunin exams and the battle between the Sannin and Orochimaru versus the third Hokage, or even Naruto and Sasuke at the Final Valley. There are heights of power that these characters just have not reached yet, and it's really, really cool to have that set off jump. That's something I really like about the start of My Hero as well, is that the All Might versus Nomu fight sets a precedent that there is a level of power that these students, these main characters who we're following, because shonen, progression through struggle, they have not reached yet, and they're going to have to work hard to reach it or surpass it at some point, because they have to. The villains are going to get tougher. Everything's going to get harder from here and here and here. So you just have to keep working, and that's what shonen is. That's why I love shonen. I just mentioned My Hero, but the originator of this trope, in my opinion, would definitely be Dragon Ball with the Pilaf Saga. Master Roshi putting out the fire on the Ox King's mountain. It is a height of power that we're like, oh wow, Goku at some point will reach this, height of power. Originally, Toriyama didn't really think he was going to go past the Pilaf arc, but he ended up doing so, and it makes the feat by Master Roshi much, much more impressive and much, much more weighty on the characters going down the line. When Goku, when he's training with Master Roshi, is probably doing so with the idea of, I want to get that strong. So you also get that same kind of concept when you see Naruto and Sasuke working really, really hard to climb the tree. And there's also some cool subversion when Sakura, who to this point has not done any fighting, has seemed even more worthless at terms of fighting and even weaker than Naruto because she just hasn't done anything. And she's actually able to do so before the boys. It's a really cool moment when you really think about it, because it denotes that there's also the aspect of you have to also kind of train your mind and take time with things and understand things. And chakra control is going to be important as well. There's a lot of cool concepts given here in the Land of Waves. And Zabuza and Haku are established in this arc. I'll have my spiel about Zabuza and Haku later on, but just know they are two of my favorite characters throughout the entire series. And honestly, with Zabuza, probably one of my favorite characters in all of fiction, not even lying. The Chunin exam arc. I don't think I've ever met anybody who doesn't like the Chunin exam arc. I used to really, really love the Chunin exam arc. I used to think Chunin exams was the height of Naruto. I've kind of grown out of that now, but it is still really, really good. Definitely one of the best shonen tournament arcs. I hate to act like, oh, Naruto came out the gate really, really strong, but it did. It just did. It comes out of the gate fucking running. It does. It sprints right down, and it has really two really good solid arcs back to back. We have all these side characters who are introduced or had been introduced in light little, tablets early on with the classmates of Naruto and Sasuke and Sakura, and then we have Team 9 kind of introduced, and wow, these guys are stronger than the first years, and they're really, really cool and yada yada. The Sand siblings are also introduced, and Gaara is definitely one of my favorite characters in all of fiction. Kankuro, Temari, I don't think they get enough credit as characters. They're also really, really cool in my opinion. The Sound Shinobi aren't that cool. Orochimaru and Kabuto, though. Oh my god. So there's all these really, really famous, iconic characters to this series who come out through this arc. So just based off that alone, it's gotta be a really, really amazing arc. With the Leaf Crush arc, we see that Orochimaru is further established as a really, really amazing villain, or antagonist at least, at the beginning of the series. Gaara is further fleshed out, which makes his story even more amazing, seeing that he's a really cool dark reflection of Naruto and what he could have been, and getting more insight on what Naruto's emotions have been when we haven't gotten to see much of that yet. It's all really, really narratively beautiful. It's all done extremely well. And Kishimoto flexes his art skills so well here. I didn't mention that with the Chunin exams or even with the Land of Waves arc, but Kishimoto's art is amazing, which is another reason why you should really read the manga if you have not, because the anime at some point just doesn't do the justice that some of these amazing manga panels are, and the spreads in Naruto are some of the best I've ever seen in any manga. There's also a moment I really, really love, because in it, Sasuke reflects Kakashi better than he ever has. He's changed his outfit to resemble somewhat like Kakashi's outfit was when he was a kid. He's learned the Chidori, so he spent so much time around Kakashi. He's had Kakashi's influence in him stronger than ever, and he makes a statement to Naruto when faced with Gaara trying to kill he and Sakura and him, that run, I'm going to do what I can to protect my precious comrades. Something that you could wholeheartedly see Kakashi saying nowadays. Not Kid Kakashi, not before Obito, but it's something that wow, he would definitely say that. That is at the strongest peak where those two characters really, really do come off as extremely similar, and I love that so much. Naruto has his first battle with real stakes that, don't just hold his life in the balance, but the lives of loads of other people. The Land of Waves did hold the lives of other people in the Land of Waves, but it wasn't direct. Gato never wanted to kill people just for the fun of killing people or just for the reason of killing people. He wanted money. He was driven by profit, and people can't pay you if they're dead. But with the Leaf Crush plan, people were gonna die if Gaara wasn't stopped. People were gonna die if Orochimaru wasn't stopped. People were gonna die no matter what if somebody didn't stand up and do something. And Naruto, being the only person in the situation who could, swallows his fear, even though he rightfully admits, I'm scared to death about this. Gaara scares the shit out of me. He's who I could have been, and that's also really, really off-putting. And beyond that, he's nowhere even in my league. He's so much stronger, he's so much better, but I can't just not do anything. And it makes Naruto a really cool character as someone who doesn't go, oh, I'm not scared of you, but someone who's like, I'm scared of you, but I'm not going to back down. I could talk about the Leaf Crush arc for years probably, but we got to move on to the Search for Tsunade arc. Itachi Uchiha and Kisame Hoshigaki are introduced, and their brief appearance does so much for this series beyond just this arc. It is insane. Sasuke's first battle with his brother once again shows us there's a height of power in Kakashi. Just a few chapters or a few episodes, whatever you kind of did to see the series, has not even reached yet. Even Kakashi was, handled without effort. We see that Jiraiya is no one to be trifled with because Itachi and Kisame run away. Later, that's kind of retconned in that, oh yeah, well, based off what he does later on, Itachi and Kisame should have definitely been able to take on Jiraiya, but I digress with that. The world building of Naruto comes in really, really slowly, and it builds off itself. With the Land of Waves arc, we see that there's more than just the Leaf Village. We hear about the Mizukage because of Zabuza's kind of backstory, and then with the Chunin exams, we hear about the Kazekage and the Sand Village. So it's two of the villages out there that we know about, and then this new one, the Sound Village, that no one knows about. So there's a mystery with that. Coming into the Tsunade arc, we leave the Leaf Village once again, which we haven't done since the Land of Waves. Been a while since then. If you're reading or watching the series. So it was really cool to leave the village once again and go out and meet these learn more about Orochimaru and learn more about Tsunade, who make up this trio of a legendary shinobi that we see Naruto is about to learn from one of them. And once again, we're shown a height of power with the battle of the Sannin to kind of establish why Naruto learning from these guys, or at least learning from Jiraiya, is really, really important. Even then, it makes Orochimaru's desire to control Sasuke's body even more palpable because it means, wow, with the power of Sasuke's eyes and Orochimaru, he'd be pretty much unstoppable. It's a really, really high-stakes situation that we're kind of dreading because we don't know what Sasuke will do. But after what we just seen in the Leaf Crush plan, we're like, well, he'll never do it. He'll never fall to that because you couldn't see who he was, just I'll protect my comrades, falling to someone like Orochimaru who, for power, for his own gain, would turn on them and try and kill them, which is something we actually see. So it creates this really cool subversive and pitfall trap for Sasuke's character for the reader if they're already expecting he'll never do this, because that's kind of what you start to think when you just read this arc. We also meet Tsunade, who is really, really cool to me. She's a great character. I know you hear that people get really mad when they're like, oh, why are you trying to include this female in this story, and yada, yada, yada. You have never heard that about Tsunade, because Kishimoto did this really cool thing that most writers should do if they want to make diverse casts. First, make a cool character. Make a cool character who has cool traits, something different, something new to add to the story, some type of personality that we haven't seen before, when we maybe have seen but in a different way, something new that adds to the story, adds to the world, adds to the tension, the ethics of the series, the characters. Their interactions are different. They elicit new feelings in the characters, new emotions, new lessons, and then make them female, make them gay, make them whatever. But do it after you have established that character as a cool character without any other merit that, goes into them not just being a cool character. Just do that. That's all you have to do. And Kishimoto does it really, really well with Tsunade. Even then, he does it really well with Sakura, but I don't think that if you point to Sakura as the best kind of female in the series, that most people will agree with you. There's kind of we'll get back on Sakura in a little while, but there's kind of an immature view of Sakura in my opinion. I don't think a lot of people view Sakura in the way that she should be viewed, but once again, we'll talk about that later. We get another giant kaiju battle with summoning, which is always really cool in Naruto, and one of the most iconic techniques in Shonen, like in all of Shonen, and all of culture, really. I think Rasengan is almost up there with the Kamehameha. I think it's really, really cool technique. It's introduced. And not only that, the groundwork for what Jiraiya and Naruto's relationship going forward is kind of set down. The moment where Jiraiya shares his popsicle and we see him kind of finally move into that father figure role where he's helping someone who he has the ability to help, who is missing that type of role in his life, who wants that type of companionship. He finally gets that. And it's really cool to see Naruto thrive in that environment. I think the anime does a better job of setting Jiraiya up as a father figure, but the manga by no means does a bad job. Sasuke Retrieval arc. Gotcha arc. That's plain and simple. It's always stuck with me for a really long time. It's probably been one of the most impactful arcs of the series for me because I think it kind of coincided with an event in my life where I did lose somebody who was very close to me, and it was because of differences of opinion and stuff like that. It was, dude, I mean, it came in a point where I really related to the arc. Seriously. Not just that, it does this thing where the characters who didn't get to shine as well as they could have in the Chunin exams got more time to shine. Kiba and Choji, I think, are some really underrated characters. Choji more than Kiba, but definitely Kiba and Choji being underrated characters. Neji gets more time to shine, which is amazing. His fight with Kidomaru is still one of my favorite in the series, I think. Choji versus Jirobo is definitely still one of my favorite fights of the series. And when the Sand Siblings show up and save Kiba, Shikamaru, and Lee, it is one of the hypest moments in this manga to me. I think I still have the colored manga panel where you see the three of them show up as one of the backgrounds for my desktop when my desktop kind of changes backgrounds. I have this little setting with that. But yeah, I love the Sasuke Retrieval arc. Sasuke doesn't come back. It was really, really crazy to me because when I first read it, I thought, yeah, they're going to get Sasuke back. Sasuke would be like, oh, I'm sorry, Naruto. That's right when I read it. But when I first saw it, that's what I thought. That's really the expectation I had going into this. And to not have that happen, I was just as heartbroken as Naruto, really and truly. Time skip, but the Kakashi interlude is really, really, really good. Learning more about this character who, from his first appearance, is set up as really, really mysterious. You don't see most of his face. You don't even see one of his eyes. He seems really calm, really stoic, really cool. It's like, who is this guy? How did he get so skilled? What is his secret? And even when they're like, all right, Master Kakashi is what Viz translates Sensei to. Tell us more about you. What are you like? What are your dislikes? What are your goals? And he doesn't tell us anything. So Kakashi is set up as this really interesting character. We don't know how he gets a Sharingan. To finally see that story play out, like 200 chapters in, it's really, really cool. It's a really cool interlude before the time skip actually ends. The Kazekage rescue arc. After a short time skip, we are thrown back into the story, and we get some more world building with finally actually seeing the Sand Village, seeing that Gaara has grown up and really taken what Naruto has taught him to heart and really and truly accomplished Naruto's dream before he has, is a really beautiful thing because it kind of leans back into some of the things that Naruto is saying with, how could I ever become Hokage when I can't even save one friend? Gaara doesn't have any impediments like that. Not only that, he's more talented than Naruto just off jump because he just has those abilities with his powers. He's able to accomplish Naruto's dream and find those bonds and become important to people throughout the village as a protector. It's really, really amazing to see him become that. It's really, really amazing to see him actually value the lives of others the way he has, and what we can see a glimpse of when he saves Lee, and now saving the entire village at the cost of his own life. The Bell Test repeat is really cool to me. I think my favorite rendition of it is probably Storm 2 because they had a boss fight with it. It was really cool. The way it ends in the manga is funny. I do think it's really funny, but it is what it is. Then we go into Sakura curing Kankuro's poisoning, something that Chio was really surprised about and was like, wow, that's like Tsunade tier levels of really impressive. And going back to learning that Tsunade was this great medic, I think it's really underrated that we never give her credit for, wow, she was able to do this on the fly and just kind of do it. Something you just cannot deny is that Sakura works hard to gain skills just like Naruto and Sasuke do, and it makes her a more likable character than what she has been. One of my favorite parts of this arc is how utterly angry Naruto gets towards Deidara. It is amazing to see because if you look into this, Naruto has absolutely no idea that Gaara could come back to life. He does not think or know for sure that Sakura could heal him. He doesn't know for sure that being a Jinchuriki will save his life. In fact, he's just lost Shukaku, so he is under the impression, that's my friend's body. And he is that angry just to get his friend's body back. It is one of my favorite characterizations of Naruto, and that he just gets so angry about that. I love that to death. We once again see Kakashi acting kind of a big brother role to Naruto, which is also one of my favorite characterizations of him. And we see him kind of evolve his Sharingan, which introduces another kind of mystery into how was he able to do that, something that we saw Itachi do, something that we haven't even seen Sasuke do, and he's full-blooded Uchiha. How does this work? It's really, really cool to see. Sakura and Chio versus Sasori is probably one of the most underrated fights of the series. There's a level of intelligence, of technique, of strategy, of guts that just goes into this fight that I think does not get enough. What am I trying to say? It doesn't get the clout that it really deserves. Sakura is able to surprise Sasori, not just with her strength, but with her medical know-how, with her, antidote, being able to work on his poison. He was shook about that. I think that's a really important thing to know, is that this person was able to take out the third Kazekage, I'm pretty sure, or was he the second? Whoever his puppet was. He was able to take the guy out, who was extremely powerful. And that's before he had that puppet. So for him to be shocked at all at Sakura being this strong, at Sakura being whoever she is, or being as good as she is, even with the help of Granny Chio, it is admirable. It is something that she should receive way more credit for, I think. Also, can I just say, there is a plot point in this arc that I don't like no anime fans. So with the What If Jiraiya Adopted Naruto series, there is a fight in that series I did where Kankuro is using the same technique that Chio and Sakura did in this fight to keep his friends, or his comrades at least, out of Kisame's way, and at least keep them alive for a bit longer. Say if he swipes at them, he's pulling them out, jerking them away. Oh, they're going to cut off a leg or something like that. He jerks the leg in the other way. And that way they're just not taking as much damage as possible while being able to maneuver around him and get little pot shots and dingers in. That's all they're really doing. And new anime fans just think like, oh, you got this from Asa versus Veto, didn't you? And it's like, oh my God, no. Asa versus Veto got it from this, but go ahead, man. Moving on, the Sasuke reunion arc. Sai is just a really underrated character. Naruto's relationship with Yamato becomes this kind of older brother or older warring sibling, at least, that I really enjoy. You see more of that throughout the 5 Kage Summit arc, and when Naruto's trained with Killer Bee. It's really cool to see, actually. I'll expand on why I think Sai is such an underrated character during the 5 Kage Summit arc review, I think. But in this arc, we see the fight with Four Tails, Naruto versus Orochimaru. Again, that anger at don't treat my friend, don't treat my comrade, don't treat somebody I care about like you own them, or like they're less than you are, or like they're less than equal. You are not going to do it to somebody I care about. I love that characterization of Naruto. It's also really shocking to see Naruto has reached this height of power and then learn like, wow, this is a fraction of the Nine Tails' overall strength. Like, this isn't even the Nine Tails going all out. This is literally less than half. It's really, really cool because this battle does a lot of dope shit. And again, read the manga if you haven't, because the art here is amazing. Then I do like Yamato introducing to Naruto that, hey man, you shouldn't have to rely on just the Nine Tails power. I get your Jinchuriki, I get that's important to you, I get that's something that you feel is a, specialty of yours, but you should also get stronger enough to deal with things on your own, because if you don't, you're going to be putting your comrades in danger, and based off what you just did, I know that's something you don't want to do. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura's reunion is really heart-wrenching in a way, but it's also a cool scene. Seeing Sasuke just look down on Naruto, just like, nah, there's no reason to even sit here and fight you. I think that's a major missed opportunity that Storm 2 made. I get that, in a talking encounter wouldn't be interesting to anybody. Gameplay is always going to be more fun, and that is also a boss battle that I really enjoy in that game, but Sasuke being like, nah, there's no reason to fight you, and just leaving with Orochimaru and Kabuto, it's something I really enjoyed. The Hidan and Kakuzu arc. Number one, switching the perspective from the main character after they have had it for a very long time. Beautiful idea. It is, oh my god. It is so refreshing. It's something that Dragon Ball has recently done that I really enjoy in Super. It's also something I've noticed that gets done in One Piece a lot, which I think also leads to that series never really getting stale, in my opinion. One criticism I will give this arc is that the anime did a way better job of establishing Asuma and Shikamaru's bond. We have not seen enough of these characters interacting with each other, having the relationship of a student and a teacher that really, really care about each other, really enjoy each other's company, and really respect each other the way that the anime sets it up to be. But you have more filler and more time to do things with the anime, so it's by no means fair. Kishimoto do all this basically with a few assistants in himself. So, I mean, there are things that you have to let slide, in my opinion. And even then, that's not to say that the manga by any means did this poorly. Asuma's death is still really, really gut-wrenching because it is, since the third Hokage, the first death of a main character, or at least a character we've known of for a good long time. Asuma at least had some fun showings. We hear a bit of his personality when we're at the Chunin exams, and Shikamaru's like, you're the only person that didn't go in to stop Neji and stuff like that. And he's trying to encourage Choji and stuff like that. His conversation with Kurenai, he's a really cool character. I actually really do like Asuma. I wish he had more screen time, wish he did more in the series, but that's why you have people who try and do rewrites of the series or what if timelines where you reimagine things and fan fictions, and that's part of why I like Better Left Unsaid. I will also say that the anime does a way better job of showing us where Shikamaru was after Asuma's death. The Let It Out Shikamaru scene with Shikaku, I think it is really, really good. I think it's a scene that could almost hold up without the context of Naruto. It's a retread of a theme that we saw in the Land of Waves that didn't get enough attention in my opinion, but Sakura talks to Tazna about how she memorized the shinobi rules, and I think it was shinobi rule number 25 where a shinobi must not show their emotions, and he goes, you're a little girl, let it out. And Sakura sits there and she cries over Sasuke's body because she thinks he's dead, because these guys are 12 years old. They're seeing their friends die in front of them. It's a theme in Naruto that never really gets exposed or thought of as much as it should, but essentially, Naruto and all his classmates were trained to be child soldiers. There's no real way out of that. They pretty much mention like, yo, you could be going to war. Obito, Kakashi, and Rin went to war as kids. They weren't that old. You couldn't imagine going to a battlefield, seeing bodies of people you might have lived in your town with as a 11, 12, 13, 14-year-old. Like, you see some of these characters like Nagato, Rin, Kakashi, Obito, and who else? I know there's other people. Zabuza probably saw war too, so it's really, really amazing to see them deal with this theme when they do, and I think it's something that should be explored way, way more. But for Shikaku, someone who is a seasoned shinobi, to tell his son, like, yo, don't hold that shit in because it's going to mess your mind up. You will not be as intelligent as you could be. You are smart. You are talented. I love you, boy. I want you to come back from this. I know as a man, this is something you have to do. So I'm not going to keep dealing with this whole, idea of masculinity that you've seen me do throughout the series, where after he kind of gets Choji hurt in the mission to retrieve Sasuke, he tells, Shikamaru not to cry and, hold his head still. Be a man. Don't cry about it. This happens. This is part of the job. And Shikamaru's ready to quit. For him to not deal with that kind of almost, for lack of a better word, toxic masculinity, that kind of stoic masculinity that we kind of see from the Jedi and Star Wars, no, let it out. Emotion is not a bad thing. It can be a bad thing if you don't let it out. So let it out. I love that scene so much. In the manga, they just kind of jump back to Shikamaru, Choji, and Ino being ready and raring to go to get revenge for Asuma. It's cool. It's a cool moment when he walks out and he takes Asuma's lighter and he lights and he tells Tsunade, I'm going to get revenge for him no matter what. And Kakashi shows up because Kakashi was friends with Asuma. That's something we see even more in this arc, which is, again, something I really wish we would have been able to see more of. And him to go with him, it just doesn't hold the same impact as the anime. I think the anime just does a way better job of that. Once again, the manga doesn't do a bad job by any means. It just could have done better. The anime proves that. Fight with Kakuzu and Hidan, really, really good. Shikamaru's mind being the crux of the entire situation is something I love. The fact that he was able to deduce Hidan's power in the first place was really cool. The whole detective mystery kind of thing that you get with Shikamaru. I just love seeing Shikamaru be smart. It's a really cool character trait. Also, just to mention this, the flushing out of the chakra power system by introducing how elemental affinities work and how that whole thing of, well, how does fire style, jutsu work, and how does it differ from water style jutsu? Finally learning that is really, really cool. Flushing out of any power system is always going to be good in my opinion. The more kind of facets and differences that you can kind of create with them, the better, the more fleshed out it'll be, the more special your characters can be and their techniques can be different. That's something that Hunter x Hunter does really, really well, and it deserves all the praise it gets for it. So I will say that I really enjoy the Rasen Shuriken training. I like that even though the Shadow Clone cheat code is kind of introduced, it doesn't get abused for a little while. And even when it does, there's some pretty clear limitations to it when you get with Sage Mode training. So we learned that Naruto can learn some, less powerful jutsu, but against some of the bigger threats that he's coming up against, what is, learning maybe an elemental technique here and there going to really do for him? The Rasen Shuriken is a really cool technique, though I do think the Rasengan is still more iconic than it. It's really cool that his Naruto signature technique is really cool that he invented it, but I don't think the Rasengan just as a technique still just dwarfs it in terms of being an icon and being probably one of my favorite techniques in the series. And once again, I really like Naruto not being the center of attention for once. The Jiraiya versus Pain / Sasuke Revenge arc. Enough can't be said about these ones. The mystery of Pain is genuinely really intriguing, and the first appearance of Sage Mode is still really, really dope. It still kind of draws Jiraiya as one of my favorite characters in the series, though I still wish he had more fights in the series. We do not get to see Jiraiya just go all out and beat somebody's ass and just trump them the way I think we really should have been able to do. Yeah, he's able to get Itachi and Kisame to run away, but I mean like him actually just overpowering somebody by using Sage Mode and showing them like, oh no, I'm not a feeble old man. I'm still worthy of the title Sanin. I really wish we would have gotten that, but even then, this being his end is probably one of my favorite deaths in any story, really and truly. Once again, the anime does a bit better with this because they have the whole scene where Jiraiya goes and sits with Naruto before he leaves on this mission, and I think that was a really, really good scene just because it further goes into that whole fatherhood aspect of Jiraiya's character that I think is probably the best part about him. Seeing Sasuke kill Orochimaru is really, really jarring as he goes to recruit the Taka, or the Hebi in this case. Just shows that he is different from what he has been, but there's still hints of him there. There's still parts of who we knew as Sasuke still being there, and I really do like that. I do like that Jiraiya's death is probably one of the most impactful of the series. Really and truly, in my opinion, goes, not even counting Kushina and Minato in this situation. Or if you do want to count them, I still feel like their deaths aren't extremely impactful because by knowing Naruto's backstory, they're already dead, basically. But in terms of the deaths that really matter to the series, in my opinion, I think it really goes Jiraiya, then Neji, the third Hokage, then Asuma, then Shikaku, then Inochi, then, if you want to count them, Hayate Gecko. And you don't really have to count Shikaku and Inochi, in my opinion. I do think their deaths really matter to Ino and Shikamaru, which they're characters, so I think their deaths, or them being a part of the story, matters, in my opinion. Sasuke versus Deidara is probably one of the most underrated fights of the series. I know I keep saying that, but it really, really is. Like, not enough people give that fight credit. Sasuke's kind of tactics in that fight are really, really impressive to see, and seeing the full scope of what Deidara can do makes him extremely impressive. Though I do have to admit, I've always felt that it makes him letting Kakashi and Naruto and the rest of Team 7 that went to go save Gaara get off kind of how they did. It makes it a little less impactful. He does try one last ditch effort, but Kakashi used the Kamui to get the explosion away, and it ends how it ends. I like the ending. I really do. I just felt like Deidara should have probably had more consequence for the group there. Maybe he injures Kakashi instead of Kakashi just being extremely tired. Something like that, at least. I really don't think I have to explain why Sasuke versus Itachi is amazing. A fight years in the making, a fight that had so much stake to it because it defines this character. It has defined this character for a long time. Sasuke is still not ready, which is amazing to see, or not really amazing to see. It's really shocking to see, I should say. It holds a lot of narrative weight, and then revisiting it when you know Itachi's full backstory and his full intention, it makes that fight a lot better. It gives some of the things he's doing, some of his glances, some of his expressions that Kishimoto draws a lot more, how should I say this? It just gives it a lot more weight, and I love it. Again, that's a fight that I could talk about for a really, really long time, so instead of doing that, I'll just say that I love that fight, and moving into Tobi or Madara telling Sasuke the truth, I love that. I love that backstory on Itachi. I love getting to learn more about Itachi. I love getting to see some of Sasuke's repressed memories. I love the panel of Sasuke crying. I love that. That's probably one of my favorite panels in the entire manga, actually. It is still, in my opinion, a little convoluted that Sasuke's entire motivation changes, but the motivation of family is always going to be something that you can relate to with the character, and being able to relate and sympathize with the character's motivations makes their actions more logical to you. So, in my opinion, it still works, just not as well as it definitely should, but it works really, really well. The Pain Assault arc. I'm going to try not to make the podcast an hour of just me talking about this, but it is arguably one of the series' best arcs, definitely, easily, and arguably one of the best arcs in Shonen in my opinion. This arc is just so thematically and narratively beautiful. We finally learn Pain's backstory, and we make some political implications that being in a small village is really, really dangerous, and the bigger villages kind of bully them, which has some very, very heavy overtones in the real world and speaks to a lot of situations we find ourselves in politically here just on Earth. Seeing Jiraiya's relationship with Naruto mirrored in somebody else who had a very similar life to Naruto in a lot of ways, yet they chose a different path that Naruto, once again, had opened to him another dark reflection of Naruto, and yet he rejected because it just didn't seem right to him. It seemed like the easy path in a way. He feels like a better character because of it. His villains, for a really, really long part of the series, define Naruto until Naruto starts defining himself. And it is not a coincidence that in this arc, I think it's the first time you can really look at Naruto and say, Naruto has become a man. Naruto has matured to a level of which you feel like no matter what really happens from now on, or at least in terms of a lot of things, we see that there are still some things that he's going to have trouble with, but to a large degree, you feel like he's changed a lot. He's not the same little kid. He's different now. The Rain Trio are really, really tragic. I wish we got to see more of Yahiko. I think that's a part that the reveal of how Obito's backstory kind of goes, kind of misses out on. We do get the part of Yahiko refusing Obito's kind of proposal for the entire group, and Yahiko and Nagato and Konan feeling the same way about Yahiko and those things. They do characterize Yahiko really, really well. Yahiko goes on to characterize Nagato, but I think Konan could have had way more to do in the series. I do think Konan is really underrated. Her fight with Toby is really, really cool in my opinion. Once again, if you have not read the manga, go read the manga. The manga does a better job of that than the games do, and I haven't seen the anime episodes that go around that part of the series, but I'm sure it probably does a better job. By that, I'm guessing the manga, not the anime, because I hear more people say that Konan is useless and that stupid meme, but I digress. Naruto going to Nagato and not trying to fight him, not trying to create more violence, more hate, more death, but asking him, what is wrong? Tell me what you are doing this for. Give me an understanding of who you are and why you're doing it. I think that's a really mature theme. I really and truly do. Some people might not like it, but I truly do. And then the realization, the information, these guys really and truly did want to do something good. They did have true intentions to do something that was what Jiraiya actually wanted to do. They wanted to create peace. They wanted to stomp out hate, but they just went about it the wrong way. Then the village accepting and praising Naruto is really cathartic in my opinion. And the Sasuke and the Taka versus the Killer Bee fight are really, really cool in my opinion. One of my favorite AMVs of all time is based on that fight. It is, oh my god, Sasuke versus Killer Bee Impossible by Manifest. I'm pretty sure that's it. If you have not watched that, please do. If I remember to, I'll put it in the link below, or I'll link it in the description below, definitely. Moving on to the 5 Kage Summon. It is, oh my god, I love this arc so much. Before I forget, I will talk about what I really love about Sai. So the thing I really love about Sai is that because he grows up in a way that is completely different from Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura, he lacks emotion, and this causes him to do a lot of study. And the study gives him a very bookwormish, A, B, C computer code like logic approach to things that kind of allows him to approach things in a more practical, realistic, and mature way that keeps Naruto and Sakura grounded later on. Sai goes on to protect Naruto against Karui when he's trying to kind of sacrifice himself for the sake of Sasuke. He goes on to kind of awaken Sakura to the fact that, hey, you're putting a big burden on Naruto, and you don't realize that you're really hurting him. And she has that realization, and like I think is really cool for a flawed character to do, she feels extremely bad about that. She is not happy about that. She goes on to do the whole I love you Naruto thing, which again, it's a mistake. It's something that she shouldn't have done, but I don't think that all good characters should be good all the time. But you need to make mistakes to be a good person. No good person is squeaky clean all throughout. Naruto isn't, Sasuke isn't, Kakashi isn't, Obito definitely isn't, Madara definitely isn't. At some point, to be a good character, you have to do something bad and fucked up basically to redeem yourself if that's what the story calls for, if that's what the story wants you to do, or at least double down on it and show why it is what you want to do and be relatable. It's just something you have to do. You can't be squeaky clean because people aren't. People are flawed. We mess things up. We fuck things up. It's just who we are. The stakes of Naruto have finally become global. Raikage is a really cool character in my opinion. I've grown up with people like Raikage in my family. And I love his fight with Sasuke. I love all of that in exchange. He's a really cool character. Seeing Susanoo is really cool, or seeing Susanoo and Sasuke and watching it develop, and how Sasuke is becoming a lot more darker, a lot more aggressive. I just love the progression of the 5 Kage sons so much. It does move extremely quickly, but I think that's a strength more than it is a weakness, because if you're watching the anime, it's going extremely slow. So I think it's something that if you're reading it, you'll probably enjoy more if you've already watched it. I also really love Gar reaching out to Sasuke one final time and realizing, like, no, you've completely lost yourself to darkness. You've become what I almost did, and there's nothing I can do for you anymore. Because at least the movement or the action of reaching out to him is something that a hopeful person like Naruto would have definitely done. And Gar, looking up to Gar, wanting to be like Naruto, definitely tries to emulate that, but he just fails. And that happens sometimes. It happens here, and I really love that. The Tsuchikage and the Mizukage don't get as much time to shine here. Tsuchikage does later in the war, but Mizukage never really gets what she needs. Sasuke versus Danzo is also extremely underrated. I don't know why Storm 3 did not make this a proper boss fight. I've been railing against this since I read the fight, but it is what it is. And we also get the fight of Danzo versus his aides, or not Danzo, but Tobi versus Danzo's aides, which I think is a really cool fight, actually. Sasuke betraying Karin is so good. It is such a gut punch of a moment. It is a moment where you're finally like, I don't recognize Sasuke anymore. This is not the kid he used to be. He's changed, and it's really jarring to see. You move on from that to the kind of confrontation between Team 7 and Sasuke kind of coming back together for the first time, with Kakashi laying eyes on Sasuke for the first time in a long time, and really being like, you were about to kill Sakura. You have fallen far, dude. You are not who I was trying to mold you into. And once again, it kind of goes back into the thing we see in Chunin exams, not Chunin exams, the Lee Crush plan, when he was like, I'm not gonna let my comrades die. It is such a extremely guttural moment. And then the conflict, or at least the conversation with Naruto, and Naruto realizing, like, the next time I see you, you and I are gonna die. And I'm perfectly fine with that, because it means that I'll take all your hate inside me, and I'll take you down with me, and that'll be it'll end there. He's fine with that. He's fine with that way of dying. And it puts a lot of pressure on Naruto that he literally just had a breakdown. And that's the conclusion he comes to. It is such a tragic conclusion to come to, yet it is heroic. That's truly a tragic hero. I also love that even though Sasuke has become kind of unrecognizable, it is really easy to see his point, where he's coming from, and sympathize with him if you are looking into the story and just looking at it critically from an objective point of view. The first third of the war arc and Naruto's training with Killer Bee. I love Bee and Naruto's relationship. Their teacher-student relationship is different from everybody else's, and it's really, really nice to see. It's fun, it's lighthearted, when the story up until then had been pretty overwhelmingly dark. There's a bit of light in the Pain arc that gets snuffed out immediately, because now Danzo's a Hokage, and then he gets killed, and so I mean, it had been a really gloomy story for a while, and Killer Bee provides a lot of fun that had been missing. Hearing Killer Bee's backstory is really, really fun, because it's like, hey, this is Naruto. There are some cool similarities in their personality and how they deal with people and how they want to make connections with people, even though people are very angry or afraid of them because they don't understand them exactly. And offering love to bridge that gap is just something I love as a concept. I really do. We also get to see the resurrection of Haku and Zabuza, and the fight with Kakashi is really, really good. I love the scene where the blood turns into tears for both of them, and Zabuza is, declaring, like, Kakashi, take me out, because I died as a human, and I will not be a tool of, just killing again. I'm not going to be somebody's pawn. That's not what this is. I died, and I was a human when I did. And Kakashi says, I know. And he doesn't. And he gets angry. It's the first time we see Kakashi truly, angry. He was heated with Sasuke at the bridge, but he wasn't truly angry like he is here. And seeing Kakashi get so upset and emotional for one of the first times in the series, at least, we saw him get angry with Orochimaru when he's protecting Sasuke, but still, I love that so much. Just him getting angry. The fight with Ninetales and the reunion with Kushina are two of the most beautiful moments in the manga, in my opinion. Again, I think the Storm 3 game did this actually really, really well. It also did the beginning of that game where you see Minato protecting the village really, really well, in my opinion. This is the story of a man. I love that opening so much. Naruto taming the Ninetales' power and achieving control over it is really cathartic. It's years in the making. It's just like with Sasuke killing Itachi. It's one of those things that we've been hearing for a long time, being built up, and you're always wondering, like, what's this going to be like? What's this going to, begin? What's this going to really gain us? What's going to happen with it? It's a lot like what happens with the full 8 gates is unleash, something that we're thinking about the entire series when you're, told about it, like, oh, wait, this isn't the full power of it. What's going to happen when you get everything from it, It's like EMS is really, really cool. I also really love Kisame and Guy's last fight, and I will say that my only 2 criticisms of this arc, or this part of the story, I don't love that Naruto never gets to meet the resurrected Haku and Zabuza. He does not need to. Narratively, Naruto needs to have no more interactions with Haku and Zabuza. I completely understand that. He's learned what he's learned from them. The only thing that could really happen is him kind of reaffirming that, yes, I do remember the lesson you taught me, and I accepted and I treasure that lesson, like he does with Nagato and Itachi later on. But it's one of those things where it's kind of just like, fan service that I would have loved, and many other people probably wouldn't have loved as much as I would. It's just one of those things where it's kind of personal for me. The other thing is, I don't love the design of Kurama Chakra Mode as much as I should. I get that at this point, the whole ninja theme of Naruto had kind of been dropped, but something I really enjoyed is that Sage Mode is a transformation that, by and large, does not make the character seem extremely different from what they were. They still visually look very much the same. It's a very small, somewhat unnoticeable transformation that I really enjoy. It's probably my favorite transformation of the entire series. Transformation technique, whatever you want to call it. With KCM, it's really glowy and bright, and it's like, that's a little Super Saiyan for you to be a ninja. But, I mean, even then, Naruto's wearing orange. They're yelling their attacks. It's not like they're covert or spies or anything. But it's something that the series kind of dumps really early on. It's just a small pet peeve. And even then, KCM kind of built it on me, or grew on me at least, as the series goes on. So it's something that I used to not like more. Something I like way more now. It's just something I don't love as much as I should, or much as other people do. The second third of the war. This holds some more really good reunions through Edo Tensei, like Itachi and Nagato meeting back up with Naruto. And once again, it makes you really sad that we never got to see more of these characters with all 3 of them on the same side, and Itachi and Nagato kind of treating Naruto as someone they can mentor. I would have loved to see that. Itachi and Sasuke's reunion and fight with Kabuto still holds up really, really well. Kabuto had always been a hit or miss character for me until I had read the series. I think the best way to experience Kabuto's characterization is to read the series. You understand his motivations, you understand who he is, and again, the art is pretty consistent here. I think it's really, really good. But finally, reading the story all the way through made Kabuto a much more enjoyable character to me. He had always been kind of like superfluous, like, why are you still here? Why are you still involved in the story? Why didn't you just get killed at some point? Because it seems like you're here for no reason, but seeing him kind of be the catalyst that leads to Orochimaru's later change and kind of carry on to Orochimaru's will, and deals with his ideologies, I enjoy that a lot. Orochimaru's true return, IMO, is really hype as a moment. Orochimaru has probably been one of my favorite characters, or villains at least, in fiction for a while, just because, once again, he did a really heinous thing, in my opinion, of like tearing the bond that Naruto and Sasuke had apart by at least being the catalyst of getting Sasuke out of the village. It was something I always kind of resented him for, and I think if you can make a viewer or reader or the audience resent a villain in real life, you've done a good job of making a villain. I really do think that. I also love the return of the 4 Kage and Hashirama's story time with Sasuke, and the backstory of he and Madara is probably one of my favorite parts of the entire manga. I definitely do love that. The art is really consistent. Hearing about the kind of ancient times of the Naruto world, and even seeing the similarities between Naruto and Hashirama before you're even told that they're reincarnates of each other, or at least Naruto's a reincarnation, and they're kind of the same line or whatever you want to call it. It's really, really cool to see. It's something that you don't see coming, and I'm still not the hugest fan of the whole reincarnation idea, but I do enjoy it now more than I've seen the entire series. The 5 Kage teaming up is a cool moment, even though Madara just plays with them, which is also a fight I really love. By the way, Madara versus the Shinobi army, it's done better in the anime, but I think the anime kind of holds the candle with that. Onoki stopping the first meteor is still a hype moment to me, and then what are you going to do about the second one? I really like that I can show that scene to anyone and instantly make them like fans of Madara. It's really, really funny. Finally, the friendship with Nine Tails and Naruto and B versus the 6 paths of Tobi. I truly do love that. Storm 3, for all his faults, for it not giving the 5 Kage summon a proper boss battle, for it not giving the Danzo battle a proper boss battle, for it having to, make up its own ending. I think that fight does it really good justice in Storm 3. I love that fight so much. But yeah, I like that. I like that the mystery of Obito is kind of presented here, and we're filled in on it later. The second third of the war is probably my favorite part of the war in general. I've always been of the opinion that it could kind of end here, not exactly here, but at least with something that happens early in the third part of the war, or the final third of the war at least. But yeah, we kind of end the second third of the war with Naruto summoning the Ally Shinobi forces to the battlefield, and final third. So the final third of the war, it has some missteps. I have to admit to that. It does have some missteps, but they come later. So we'll talk about the good stuff now. Now, I love the fight between Kakashi and Obito. Again, the anime does it really, really well. I think the manga does a really good job as well. Storm 4 does a horrible job of making this fight as good as it should have been, in my opinion. Those are just the three major ways I know people have experienced this fight, but I think the anime probably has the best adaptation of it. Obito becoming a Jinchuriki is a really cool moment. I love when he kind of regains his consciousness in the Jinchuriki body. I love the defeat of Obito in the Chakra War. I love that the members of Naruto's class, well, not really his class because Team 9 is involved in that. I love that they have that moment where they kind of control the Rasengan and his tails. I love everything with Naruto sharing his chakra with the others. I like the parts where his friends are given chakra cloaks. That is a really cool scene. I personally would have liked for the war to have ended with Obito's defeat and the same conclusion of Madara and Hashirama sitting down to have a conversation before they're both like, we were both kind of wrong. But Madara, look, the new generation aren't like us. They've done something that we're not able to do. They have found true peace by, love and coming together as comrades. So in the end, Hashirama was right. That said, if we did that, we miss out on a lot of good things. Like the Madara versus Guy going full 8 gates moment is still really, really good. It's a beautiful moment. It's this cathartic moment. I do, however, think that it is somewhat ruined by Guy not dying. I think it kind of makes the whole, even though I am now a red leaf that's going to fall and die, I'll become nutrients for fresh green leaves that'll, take up my mantle and be the youth of the future and keep going like I have. I think that's a really cool message. I think that's a really cool way for Guy to go. He doesn't, and that's great. I'm glad he's still here. I love Guy. He's one of my favorite characters, but it just kind of takes away from him a small bit. I know Neji has just died. I know Jiraiya has died, but death in war is something that should be really important, I think. The entire thing with Naruto saying, I'm not going to let any of my comrades die, and then they do, and Obito is trying to push him to think like he is, and Naruto refuses, I think that's a really important moment. I think that it could have happened more than once, not just with Neji. I think Iruka dying would have been really, really impactful to Naruto. I think it would have had more impact than Neji's death, actually. So there's a lot of cool things that I think do come from this war not ending here, but everything could have been better in my opinion. Again, I love the Guy fight. I love that Guy still survives, but there are just things there. Naruto and Sasuke's meeting with the Sage of Six Paths is amazing to me because we've been hearing about this guy for a good long time, since at least when Jiraiya fought Nagato. So, I mean, finally meeting this godly being who, is literally just existing in the limbo between death and life is really, really cool. And it takes a lot more of the mysticism of the series that we've been seeing, kind of small whispers of, and it puts it right in your face. And there is a lot of mysticism and magic here that has not been explored yet. There's some destiny here that hasn't been truly put to the forefront yet, and now's the time to do that. So Madara's defeat is Kage coming is and I don't really want to spend my time talking about the extreme negatives of this part because they've been meaned about and talked about enough. I think they pretty much speak for themselves. It could have been done better. It wasn't. It happened. I don't think it takes away from the manga as a whole. I don't think it takes away from the story as a whole. I don't think it takes away from the arc as a huge whole, but I mean, it's just one of those things, man. You got to kind of take what it is and be able to criticize it and realize there are some issues with it objectively, and yet I still enjoy it. The Naruto versus Sasuke finale. It's good. There isn't much else you can say about that. It is probably one of the most cathartic endings to anything I've ever experienced in a fictional story. It's amazing to see Sasuke once again acknowledging Naruto as an equal like he did in their first fight at the Final Valley. I think any interpretation of this fight has done it really, really well. The anime does it well, the manga does it well, the Storm 4 game does it extremely well. Extremely well. So, I mean, if you've experienced this fight anyway, if you experienced the end of the story in any way, I think you've done something good for yourself. I think the ending of Naruto is really, really cool, really cathartic. I highly encourage people to check the series out. If they've never been a fan, if they're thinking about getting into it, just because when you finally finish the series, you feel like you have grown in some capacity. You feel like you've learned something about yourself, in my opinion, at least. It truly did teach me some things. Finally sitting down to read the entire series from beginning to end, I feel like I am different now. I'm not exaggerating on this. But yeah, that's how I feel about every arc of Naruto. Now, just to get rid of everything, The Last is still a weird movie to me in some aspects. I recently rewatched it for the first time in a long time, and I enjoyed it more than I did the first time. But it still has some issues. Like, I don't 100% agree with the idea that Naruto doesn't understand the concept of love. At least not romantic love. Because I feel like maybe at an age where he was younger, sure, great. I can totally agree with that. Him not understanding fully what, Hinata means when she loves him, or not understanding why she loves him, I'm cool with that. Him being as old as he was in that movie, and having all the peacetime he's had, doesn't make sense to me. To say he's not been on a date, to say that even Hinata, who's been characterized as making leaps and jumps, and her confidence in not being as meek, and being more assertive, and being braver, and yet she's kind of reverting back to old shy Hinata because, Naruto has a scarf. It's really weird to me because I feel like all the characterization she's had, even if we're supposed to believe that she's under the impression that the scarf is not his mother's, it's some girl who likes him and he likes her back, and she just has no chance, she should still, based off Naruto's example, be willing to say, Naruto, this is how I felt about you for a long, long time. I realize you're in a relationship. I respect that, but I just need to lay out my feelings for you one more time and just hear what you think about me. I don't like that she reverts back to that. I don't like that Naruto isn't as mature and as understanding of others' feelings as he was when he talked to Obito and stuff like that. It's a regression of characters, in my opinion. I do like the movie. I do enjoy the film a lot, actually. But it's just, from a narrative standpoint, I don't enjoy it as much. And I'm sure some people really enjoy it. I'm sure some people have probably taken the narrative, or at least interpreted that narrative way differently than I have. If you have, please give me your opinion on that. I love to hear it. I love to hear different perspectives because I want to love that movie as much as some people do, but it just doesn't work as well as it should, in my opinion. With Boruto, I am fully caught up with the manga now, and it's sad that the anime has really hurt its reputation. I think that's really, really sad. It happened with Black Clover as well. And again, even I was someone who didn't read the manga and didn't know that these series are really, really good. With Boruto, my opinion on it is still really half-baked. I can say now that I've enjoying the read. I still don't love Boruto's character as much as I want to. He's gotten more likable to me than he was in the movie, or in some of the interpretations of him I'm seeing in the anime, but he's just not as likable as the main characters we've had. Nobody who's been introduced in this recent generation is anywhere near as likable as anybody from the old generation, except maybe like Kiba and to an extent Shino, but I know a lot of people, I myself really like Shino. I know people like Shino, so I mean, even then. But I mean, Kabaki is probably my favorite character in the new generation because I love how they wrote this character who has a backstory like Naruto's, yet a demeanor like Sasuke's, but in their most intimate of moments, when they're being themselves, and they're being loose, and they're just letting themselves hang out, you can see that he's a lot like Naruto was when he was in his intimate moments. He's a very deep, thoughtful person who has emotions and has a lot of love in their heart that you can kind of see when they're not as angry or as boisterous as they want to be, or kind of how he's acting like Sasuke sometimes. While Boruto is kind of the exact opposite. He's a lot like Sasuke in terms of backstory, just, annex the whole clan dying, and then you give him Naruto's demeanor, but in his intimate moments, you can kind of see that, oh yeah, there's a lot of intense love and protectiveness that he has over Himawari and his entire family that you would kind of see from Sasuke. You see that when he's so mad about Itachi doing what he did. You see that when he gets so mad about people looking down on the Uchiha. It's really, really cool to see those characters kind of flip-flop personalities with characters who somewhat resemble them, but when you look deeper into them, it's not the same. I think Sarada is really, really cool as a character, actually, and Mitsuki I want to see more of. The anime has explored him some more, but I can't wait for the manga to finally do a deep dive in him. This whole Child of Orochimaru thing is really intriguing. I don't think the anime is supposed to be canon. I'm pretty sure the majority of the anime is not supposed to be canon. I haven't done much research into that. I know the manga is going to be almost completely canon, so I'm sticking with that. And yeah, seriously, read it if you have not. I truly do give it a star of approval. I think it's something you should read, especially if you enjoy Naruto. Invest in Viz for a manga reader like I did. It's worth a read. I'm excited for the story to continue. And that does it for my review of everything with Naruto, just under about, I think this took like 43 minutes. But yeah, we're done with that. We're almost done. I'm going to do my favorite arc now. This was hard to do. I had to distill this down to a few of them, and I finally got it down to 3 that I just really enjoy about equally. I decided on the Land of Waves arc, the Pain Assault arc, and the Tail Beast training and first third of the War arc. And with these, I ended up distilling this down to the Land of Waves being my favorite arc in all of Naruto. The impact this arc had on me, the series, the characters, the storytelling, the art. Zabuza and Haku are arguably 2 of the most important characters in all of Naruto. They set his entire ideology going forward for a very long time. His ideals on how a shinobi should act, his ideals on if shinobi are really considered tools or not. They present a very interesting concept theme that kind of comes back a few times in the series. I don't think it gets explored as much as it should, but it definitely gets explored to an extent that I really enjoy. And narratively, they're just beautiful characters, I think. Zabuza regained his humanity after completely sacrificing it for his ambition and thinking nothing of others, but because he just can't help it, because you just can't help it, because I think everyone has a capacity to be a good person, to be someone who is loving and caring, and realizes that those who are weaker than them deserve to be protected, to be loved, to be encouraged. He does that to Haku in small bursts and spurts that let Haku develop love towards him, and that just presents positive feedback. I love that story. I love that just by doing something that was meant for his ambition, and because you are human, you don't have a choice with it. You show your humanity. I love that arc. I love those characters. I love the impact they have on Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura, and Kakashi. I love Kakashi tells Naruto that I'm glad they were your first opponent. I'm glad that in the end, Zabuza is saying, I'm glad that, I died a human. That doesn't happen in this arc, but it all builds off this arc. I love the Land of Waves. It is my favorite arc in all of Naruto. And trust me, that was a really hard opinion to come up with. I had to really sit here and kind of soul search, which is why this podcast has taken a little while to get out, actually. But with that, I will end this off with my top 10 characters of the series. I'll try and give short reasonings for why they're here. And I will say that this list is kind of liable to change. It depends on a few things. Like, have I read the series recently? What part of the series have I worked on? Have I done any what ifs on a character, or done any what ifs that involve a character that have made me kind of expose myself to that character lately? These things can kind of change my opinion on this, so don't hold me to this 100%. This list could change at any time, especially with the series still going. But my list for now is number 1, Kakashi, because he has a really cool message about trauma. He has a really cool explanation of the theme of family and how shinobi should really act, and all that stuff with Obito and his connection with Ren, his relationship with Sasuke, Naruto. I love every part of Kakashi. Number 2 is Naruto. I think that speaks for itself. Number 3 is Sasuke. Again, that speaks for itself. Number 4 is Jiraiya. I love father figure and mentor characters, which is why Kakashi is on so high on this list. I have a really important relationship, in my opinion, with my dad that I think kind of gets reflected in the relationship that Jiraiya and Naruto have. He's my birth father, but I do kind of see my relationship with my dad a lot like how Jiraiya's is. I feel like I've had ethical, philosophical conversations with my dad where I felt like, yeah, I do kind of agree with you on that. And I do kind of want to see a world where the ideal you're talking about is what we're kind of following. I do like that idea of spreading love and peace and joy and accepting people no matter what happens. That's something that my dad's always believed that I'm really proud that he thinks. Number 5 was really hard to come up with, and I ended up settling with Itachi. I don't want to go too far into this, but my relationship with my older brother is also really important to me, and Itachi is a character who just exudes a lot of love and a lot of caring and a lot of emotional maturity that I think is lost on a lot of characters in fiction that I think Kishimoto did really well with characterizing him. Even though it sometimes seems inconsistent, like, oh wow, you did all this stuff, before we were told that you're actually a good guy. Going back and revisiting the series, it doesn't even matter. It seems like it was all intentional. It's really, really good in my opinion. Number 6, this shouldn't be too big of a surprise. It's Zabuza. Again, Zabuza is probably one of my favorite characters in any fiction. I love the idea of regaining one's humanity. I love the idea that someone who was presented as having this tragic backstory and kind of being brainwashed into thinking that, killing is the only way to, present yourself as strong and yada yada and stuff like that, and ambition is all that matters. And yet, there's humanity towards them. There's an ideal, a natural goodness that he just holds that at some point grows and grows and grows. I love that concept. Number 7 is going to be Nagato. This should speak for itself. Nagato is a version of Naruto that ends up being redeemed in a lot of ways. Number 8, I really struggle between Haku and Gaara. Gaara and the theme of love and the theme of what hurt is and the theme of family, they all resonate really, really well with a lot of people. I think there's a lot of jokes about Gaara that he doesn't deserve. Like, oh yeah, Gaara got so soft and stuff like that. I think that's a really bad interpretation of Gaara. I think thinking of Gaara as somebody who ends up realizing that there's more ways to acknowledge yourself, acknowledge others, and be happy than the way he did, like Naruto does. It's a really beautiful moment in the manga, in the story. I think Gaara deserves a lot more credit than he gets. Number 9 is going to be Obito. Again, this kind of speaks for itself. Obito is a really important character in the story. Obito is the counterpart to Kakashi, just like Sasuke is to Naruto, or Naruto to Sasuke, basically, because pretty much the roles were reversed on that one. And my best friend loves Obito. He's actually his favorite character, and mine's Kakashi, so that's part of why we get along so well. And number 10 is going to be Sakura. I know I want to talk about Sakura a little bit more, but Sakura's useless joke is a stupid meme to me. The reason I think it's a stupid meme is because I don't think that because every member of the Justice League isn't Superman, that they're all not interesting, or they're all not well-written characters, or they're all useless. In a lot of ways, I think Superman is one of the most interesting characters in all of fiction because the stories you can tell with him are really interesting. They explore a lot of interesting themes with love and charity and what it really means to be strong, what it really means to use strength. But at the same time, Batman's a really cool character to explore when it goes to mental illness and how you deal with trauma. Wonder Woman can be a very interesting character when it goes to exploring ideals of hope, like Superman does, ideals of pacifism, ideals of strength, ideals of what it means to be a woman. Aquaman can be a cool character when it goes to thinking about the environment, things like that. John Jones, the Martian Manhunter. You have Green Lantern. Any other Green Lanterns are really cool characters to deal with. Flash is always a fun character to deal with. His recent popularity with his TV show and stuff like that, it all points to these characters all having their certain roles and places they can do things with. So in my opinion, Sakura being kind of this worthless crybaby at the beginning of the series who realizes that you can't do that and have people in your life that are in dangerous positions and always let them protect you and stand up for herself and do things that kind of subvert what she's been doing by going to Tsunade and working hard and learning how to do what she does and becoming a strong kunoichi on her own who can stand next to Naruto and Sasuke even for a small amount of time and yet fulfill her own role, because Naruto and Sasuke can't heal people. Naruto and Sasuke can't keep their comrades from dying if they get serious injuries, because they can't heal them unless you count Naruto using the Sage of Six Past powers. You do so later on, but yada yada. It's really cool to see her do that, and I think she deserves way more credit for that. So that does it for my favorite characters, or top 10 characters, and this list goes further. Shikamaru, Choji, Neji, a lot of people show up on this list later on. They just didn't make it to the top 10 at the moment because I haven't had any recent exposure to them. And by recent, I mean just like in recent time, where I've been like, oh yeah, I really do appreciate this character enough to change my list at the moment. So the list stays as it is right now at the time of recording. And again, it's liable to change because the story is something that I'm going to revisit a lot in my life. But I'm going to end the podcast off with my overall kind of view of Naruto. Naruto has and always will be a really important series to me, even though I don't think at the beginning of my experience with it, I put enough effort into staying caught up with it. I really wish I did. I'm glad that I finished it at all. Better late than never. I really, really love the themes and concepts it explores. I like that it's fun to think about those concepts. I like that it's fun to think about those philosophies of the characters and weigh them against each other. It's a really beautifully written story, in my opinion. My advice is, if you've watched the anime, played the game, or already read the manga, still read the manga. If you've done either of those, still reread it. I think it is worth a reread, even if you have read the whole thing. If you haven't, just read it. I think the best way to deal with the story overall is to read it. It gives you the best understanding of the series, the characters, the power scaling, all that you want to know. The manga does the best job of portraying that. I can guarantee there's going to be something new that you notice, or something that you remember that you love a lot, that is going to make the reread extremely worth it. So again, I highly recommend experiencing the story in any way, shape, or form. Again, if you already have, or if you haven't before, but reading it is definitely the best way, in my opinion. The series truly did teach me something. It taught me to endure pain and turn that pain and sadness into kindness, and turn my uniqueness into strength, and try and help others when I can, and do the best I can with everything I do, and to never give up. And I think those are important lessons, no matter how cliche they might be, no matter how overdone they might be in other shonen. I think it's really important. And I truly do hope that you guys get to experience that same lesson that I did from experiencing this story by sitting down and just reading it. But you guys, that'll do it for this podcast. This is actually gonna be the longest podcast I've ever done with no guests, so that's pretty cool. If you stuck to the end of this podcast, please type in the comments #believe it. I'd really like to see that if you guys stuck to the end. As always, be sure you guys are taking care of yourselves and go beyond. Plus Ultra. See you guys next time.